Okay, here's something interesting. So since this COVID pandemic, obviously, going to the malls and the movie theaters and just basic things that you would do for a fun time have been put on pause, like pause please. And with that has been like kind of Hollywood trying to figure out this new norm that we're tired of hearing about, that I keep bringing up for you guys. And what they've been trying to flirt with is, straight to TV and streaming. So what that basically means is stuff like Netflix and pretty much every TV company coming up with their own app that we all have to pay for, which basically makes all the apps together more than cable, which is crazy because everybody used to complain about cable and how streaming was so much more reasonable. So it's become kind of a battle, especially I think for parents during these times who aren't making as much money because their employers aren't making much money because everybody has been put on pause basically. And with that kind of pressure, the kids are like, oh, well, I want the Disney app. Oh, I want Netflix. I want Hulu. I want this. I want ESPN. I want it's just a lot. So with that being said, people like Warner Brothers are flirting with the idea and going back and forth on kind of what they would describe as like a hybrid strategy of releasing their film this year on Christmas or waiting until 2021. Now, what they're flirting with in regards to this hybrid strategy is basically whether or not they want to release Wonder Woman 1984 in the cinemas in select locations the way they wanted to do it prior to COVID on Christmas, but then also shortly thereafter to release it for streaming on their HBO Max. So that's kind of what they're flirting with right now. I'm very curious to see what they go through because they're talking about the projections on whether or not this will potentially be the biggest film to date that ends up streaming. So I'm very curious to see how that is going to play out because millions upon millions upon millions of dollars go into movies these days for special effects, for paying for the actors, for the locations, for everything, okay? And when you think about it, millions of dollars, you kind of have to almost make double to make up for, just to almost break even. So if you're spending, I don't know, $70 million, right? Just pick a random number. If you are basically spending $70 million to make one film, essentially in sales, you have to make, just to roughly make even, you have to sell more than 80 million. Because you have to figure in taxes. Taxes figure into how much the sales. So you have to take that out of the sales. So I'm very interested. As you can see, I'm like, oh, I'm very excited about it. I love films and Hollywood and stuff, so I'm always very trying to stay up to date on what's going on. So I'm like super excited. But with that being said, I'm very curious to see how this is going to play out. And I keep saying that, but this one is definitely true because this could be, in a way, almost groundbreaking because, when you say groundbreaking, it sounds amazing, but it also sounds almost somewhat detrimental for the cinemas. And for me, going to the movie theater as a kid was a delight. I remember when it was $5.50 a movie, which, my parents were like, wow, that's expensive. And now today it's like more than $20 for just two people. I can't even imagine like a family of 4 to 6, like, whew. But I'm curious to see if streaming shortly after a release, if they do that, I'm very curious to see if it'll bring in the same kind of sales numbers that would have happened had it just been in a movie theater and then waiting a while and then coming out to DVD or Hulu or whoever would, purchase the rights to play it. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to play out because obviously they're projecting, prior to COVID, they were expecting a really great result for Wonder Woman 1984. So I am very curious to see about that. I think that is mostly what I have in store for you guys. I hope you guys checked out my article on Yahoo Finance. I was so proud and just so immensely grateful to have had that experience and been a part of that. That's such a big deal. Growing up, I read Yahoo articles all the time. And so to be featured in one about, being an up-and-coming success as a children's book author has just been amazing, and having them be excited about my next book, it's just super cool. So